Nobody is sitting out right now. For good reason. We have not only champions of the past.
Nobody down for good reason. We have not only champions of the P on December 14th, Andrew Tate, just straight up attacked Jake Paul on the streets, and believe me, it was worth seeing at an event this so. Cold Boxer opens his big mouth, probably trying to grab some spotlight. Maybe he might have thought he could just trash talk and keep things light, but what Jake didn't realize was that he wasn't in a ring. There were no cameras set up for a hype reel. It wasn't a WWWP promo. This was just a random encounter, and suddenly it was real.
Champions of the past, we have world champions of the present. Marissa Shields in the building.
Jake Paul, it's clear to me you are desperate for a reality check. You know what? If I made my money impressing 4-year-olds on YouTube and managed to somehow become a multimillionaire from it, I'd probably live in a dream world too. But let me explain something to you about combat sports. There are a whole bunch of men out here who will never be as famous as you, will never make the money you've made, who would kick the living fuck out of you.
CHS of the past, we have world champions of the present, Sheldon the build, Jake Paul. It's clear to me you are desperate for a reality check. You know, what if I made my money impressing 4-year-olds on YouTube and managed to somehow become a multimillionaire from it?
You don't trash talk someone like Andrew Tate and get away with it.
The biggest clown on the fucking internet. If you want to fight and you want to send a contract, send one to me. I will take a few weeks break from living my retired life to kick the living fuck out of a fucking goofy, fucking entitled dickhead like you. You know my name, Andrew Tate.
I'd probably live in a dream world too, but let me explain something to you about combat sports. There are a whole bunch of men out here who will never be as famous as you, will never make the money you've made, who would kick the living underscore out of you. Andrew Tate, keeping his cool, as always, approached Jake in a way only he could. He wasn't there to engage in a verbal sparring match. He was there to send a message you don't trash talk someone like Andrew Tate and get away with.
Whatever conditions you want. 2 brothers, 1 cage. Jake Logan, you Tristan. Who comes out alive?
You know what? I'm trying so hard to not start internet beefs. I'm really trying not to.
You could say Jake and Logan, man.
Bro,
don't worry about it.
No, I can't lie. Bro, I'm going through life. I'm trying to live peaceful now.
I guess Jake realized this isn't a YouTube video anymore. No punches had landed just yet, but Andrew Tate's physical intimidation alone was enough to make Jake's bravado slip. For a second, you could almost see the gears turning in Jake's head. Wait, this guy's for real. Whatever conditions you want, 2 brothers, 1 cage, Jake Logan, you Tristan, who comes out alive. You know what? I'm trying so hard to not start internet beefs. I'm really trying not to. You could say Jake and Logan, man, don't worry about it. No, I can't lie. I'm going through life. I'm trying. To live peaceful now. And we all know there's history between Jake Paul and Andrew Tate, and it's more than just the typical YouTube versus social media star drama. This is personal, well as personal as it gets when we're talking about 2 extremely self-confident, if not downright arrogant individuals who've built their entire careers on attention, but hey, sometimes the spotlight gets a little too bright, and that's when things explode. Andrew doesn't need money. He's sitting pretty on $710 million. What's really at stake is respect now. Let's get into what happened. The real tension started when Jake Paul, having already boxed some lower tier fighters, and no, we're not going to get into the debate on whether those were legit challenges, started throwing around some big names for his next fight. Now, Mike Tyson is a legend. You don't just call out Mike Tyson unless you're really confident or perhaps just naive enough to think you can take him down. Jake Paul was trying to cash in on that. Tyson naturally wasn't having it. The thing is, Jake's approach was all about the money and the spectacle. He was looking for a fight that would not only make him famous, but would also generate millions in ticket sales and pay-per-views. What better way to do that than challenge a living legend like Tyson? Right? 3 weeks ago, Venture the Unknown commented that Andrew Tate will knock Jake into next music year, except there was one tiny problem. Mike Tyson, a heavyweight champion with a legacy in the sport, wasn't interested in this circus act. Tyson's been through enough to know when it's just a publicity stunt, and he wasn't about to get involved, so Jake was left in a position where he had to find someone else to keep up with his big talk. Tate saw this as an opportunity. Not only was Jake Paul trying to challenge legends, but the kid was also avoiding real competition. Tate was never shy about calling out fake toughness. He's got his own reputation in combat sports, albeit not in boxing. He's an accomplished kickboxer with multiple championships under his belt. He has a reputation of being a non-nonsense kind of guy, someone who isn't afraid to speak his mind. And let's be honest, this whole Jake Paul fight narrative was practically begging Tate to step in. So naturally, Tate did what anyone with a significant ego and a history of challenging people would do. He called Jake out. Tate's call out wasn't subtle. No, this was a massive challenge. He wasn't looking for a charity fight. He wasn't even interested in a friendly spar like Jake's other opponents. This was about money, serious money, and respect.
Yeah, he'll never do that, though. He knows. He knows way.
One, he's under contract. And 2,
he's not his own boss.
And 2, he won't do it. He knows better. He might
And it's
say,
funny to say, like, yo, Conor McGregor is scared of Jake Paul and will never.
Yeah, he'll never do that, though. He knows way, one, he's under contract, and two, he's not his own boss, and two, he won't do it. He knows better. He might. And it's funny to say, like, yo, Conor McGregor is scared of Jake Paul. Well, never Andrew Tate, who as mentioned earlier is sitting pretty on $710 million, wasn't exactly in need of fame he already had, that he wasn't struggling for money, but he had a point to prove. Jake Paul, a self-proclaimed boxing sensation, was going around picking fights with legends. While avoiding real competition, this wasn't about winning another fight, it was about putting Jake in his place. Tate wanted the world to see that he, not Jake, was the one with the real fighting experience, the one who actually earned his name in the combat sports world. He was going to fight Jake not for money, not for fame, but to show Jake and the world the difference between talk and action.
I'm one of the lucky ones. I made a little bit of money. I don't have 50 million to bet with you, but I do have 3 million to bet with you. So this is your offer. $3 million. You put 3, I put 3. Winner takes all. I'm 5 years out the ring. I'm a kickboxer.
I'm one of the lucky ones. I made a little bit of money. I don't have 50 million to bet with you, but I do have 3 million to bet with you. So this is your offer, $3 million. You put 3, I put 3. Winner takes all. I'm 5 years out the ring. I'm a kickboxer. And how much was this fight worth? Well, no. Big deal, just a casual $50 million. That's right, $50 million. Imagine that in the ring you've got Jake Paul, the social media king, who's been raking in millions for his boxing matches against Andrew Tate, the kickboxing champion, with millions of followers and even more millions in the bank on top of. That Tate's not just any contender, he's a seasoned fighter who has been sharpening his skills long before Jake ever thought of stepping into a ring. For Tate, this wasn't just about cashing in on the spectacle, it was about demonstrating who was the real deal. With a net worth of $710 million, he could have chosen any number of fights or simply retired to a life of luxury, but no, this was personal, and that's the difference.
But let's say he would call you to fight. Would you take it?
Yeah, I mean, Jake and I actually talk. He's an all right guy. There was a time we were talking about fighting each other, and I think if this arrest didn't happen, it probably would have come to fruition. We'll see what happens in the future.
Let's say he would call you to fight. Would you take it? Yeah. I mean, Jake and I actually talk. He's an all right guy. There was a time we were talking about fighting each other, and I think if this arrest didn't happen, it probably would have come to fruition. We'll see what happens in the future. Now let's talk about Jake Paul for a second, because, well, he's Jake Paul, and with Jake, you can always count on one thing: he'll never shut up. After Andrew Tate's call out, Jake didn't back down. Oh no, he did exactly what Jake Paul does best: talk trash. He couldn't resist taking shots at Tate, questioning his fighting ability and throwing around more insults like it was his second language. And let's be real, Jake's brand of trash talk isn't exactly eloquent. Andrew Tate's just a washed-up fighter who's trying to stay relevant. Jake said in one of his many Instagram rants, "This guy's nothing but an internet personality. I'm the future of boxing, and I'm going to crush." Music him come on fight there. It was the typical Jake Paul move. He said Tate was washed up, just like he said about every other fighter who didn't immediately roll over for him. But if we're being honest, was that a smart move? Probably not. Andrew Tate wasn't going to take those words lightly. And Jake should have known that. You see, Tate isn't the type to sit back when someone's questioning his reputation. And with his experience in combat sports, the man knows how to make a statement. But Jake Paul, true to form, couldn't help himself. In fact, the more Jake talked, the more he dug his own hole. The world watched as Tate calmly responded, daring Jake to step into the ring. Jake, with his Twitter fingers, kept firing back. What happened next? Well, things escalated, and Jake was about to learn a very valuable lesson. One doesn't simply trash talk Andrew Tate without expecting consequences. Floyd Mayweather just destroyed Jake Paul, the so-called problem child of boxing, after he rejected Andrew Tate's fight like it's a tax bill he forgot to pay. And this is the same Jake Paul who loves to shout from the rooftops about fighting anyone, anywhere, anytime. Turns out that offer doesn't apply to people who might actually stand a chance of knocking his ego and him flat on the mat. And then there's Floyd Mayweather, the undefeated king of boxing, watching from the sidelines. Like a disappointed parent, Floyd didn't just call Jake out, he tore him to shreds. He branded Jake a cherry picker, accusing him of only stepping into the ring with opponents he knows he can beat. Let's be honest, Floyd's not wrong. Jake's fights are less about proving himself as a boxer and more about curating a highlight reel for YouTube like he did here.
He does tend to keep those guards down, but he's comfy at that point.
Hard left. Tend to keep those guards down, but he can't see at that point. The scuffle wasn't long. It didn't need to be. The point was made. Jake Paul, the brash, cocky social media star who had been running his mouth for so long, was finally face to face with someone who wasn't afraid to shut him up. And that's exactly what happened. The media exploded with the news headlines screamed Andrew Tate attacks Jake Paul, and the internet had a field day with the moment. But here's the thing, Tate wasn't out to ruin Jake Paul. He didn't need to. He already had what mattered. Jake Paul, on the other hand, found out the Hard way what happens when you mess with the wrong person. Andrew Tate attacking Jake Paul on the streets wasn't just another celebrity incident, it was a statement, and if you're Jake Paul, you've got to learn something from this. Respect isn't something you just talk your way into, you have to earn it. And the next time you throw out insults, maybe think twice before it's someone like Andrew Tate who's there to remind you just how much of an illusion that confidence might be.